Hi, I'm Scott from Panasonic. Thank you for taking the time for entering Zest Asia. As one of the sponsors of the event, Panasonic are providing use of our accelerated cooking oven, the 1275, for the finals. We're looking at having you utilise the oven to show creativity and produce some amazing items. The key factor that we're looking for from Panasonic's point of view is to see the oven utilising 3 separate cooking methodologies. We'll talk about how we can use the oven a little bit later. Those of you that selected for the finals will receive one of our ovens in the new year, so you're free to practice and refine those dishes for those dates. With that said, let's take a look at the oven. Some of you who have already entered Zest Quest in the past may be familiar with the oven, but those of you entering for the first time, I'm here to give you an insight into how it operates or a refresher for those who already know. With regards to the 1275, it's an accelerated cooking oven. What that means is think of it as an oven first and foremost, but with the addition of extra items. For example, we have the ability to have microwave, grill element, and also fan grill alongside that convection element. So let's have a look at the oven. First off, what we're going to do is preheat the oven. Just going to open the door to wake it up. Preheat, we have multiple settings. We can go for 240 degrees, 190 or 220. Simply by pressing through, we can get to the desired temperature. I always go a little bit higher, set it at 240, and I can adjust my temperature later. Once we're there, hit the start button, and preheat has begun. We'll be able to see this by at the top, we have a flashing light. When the oven is fully preheated, the P at the front of the screen will then begin to flash. So while the oven is just preheating now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight into the additional buttons that we've got. The best way that I think you guys are going to be able to use it during the finals is in what we call manual mode. So this is where we're going to be programming and cooking on the fly as we need to. There is the option to pre-program the oven, but I'm not too concerned about that and we won't worry too much. As we go through the screen, I then move through my numbers onto my items. We have our microwave, grill, fan grill, and convection. These are the key elements that we're going to be looking at changing, and we'll talk about these a little bit later while we showcase some dishes as well. On the right hand side we have preheat, which is what we're doing now, and you can hear the oven now in preheat mode. Combination. Combination is preset algorithms already loaded onto the oven. These may not be relevant to you guys, so don't worry too much about the combination setting. We also then have cooling down button and a lamp also. So if we want to illuminate the inside of the cavity just to see what's going on, we have the ability just by pressing that to have the inside light up. As you can see on the screen now, the P's begin to flash. What I'm going to do now is just take you through what these little buttons and options mean at the top of the screen. So as you can see on the far right here, and where it's flashing underneath the wavy lines, that's showing that the oven's on preheat setting. The first option we have here is microwave, then we have grill, fan grill, and convection, and then the last one is the cooling down button. When we have a solid block line or a flashing line, that's where our feature or program setting is under. At the bottom of the screen is where we have our microwave power settings. We have our high, followed by medium, into low, into simmer, into defrost. In regards to power elements, the wattage is around about 1125 when it's on max. So what we're going to do now is look at how we construct and build a program. So during the actual finals itself, I'd always recommend having the oven, make sure it's always on preheat. So the way we do that, as I said, just make sure that flashing light is at the top and the P's flashing. This will just be a lot more convenient for when you want to use the oven. With that being said, let's look at how we can program an oven. What I do now is just open the door, close it again, and look at choosing my settings. We'll go through every setting individually. To start with, I have microwave. And as we mentioned earlier, you can now see at the top that solid block light has moved on to the microwave setting, and it's appeared on the high to start with. To cycle through the power settings, All we do is press the microwave again to move from high to medium, again medium to low, low to simmer, and finally to defrost. And then to turn it off once more. So for example, if I want the microwave setting on medium, like so, and the oven convection on, I then go microwave onto convection. Now what I want to point out is when we go onto convection, we can alter the temperature that we have inside the oven. So for example, I press convection once, it's on at 190 degrees as a standard preset loaded temperature. What you have the ability to do is have the oven run from 100 degrees all the way up to 250 degrees. The way we do this is simply press convection again, just to cycle through your options. So for example, you may preheat the oven to 109 degrees, but want the oven to run at 150 degrees. With the microwave power on there, and at this point then, you simply enter your time on the number pad. So for example, if I wanted to cook a dish now for 2.5 minutes, I would go 2, 3, 0, place my food inside the oven, and hit the start button to begin the process. When you're utilising the microwave inside this type of cavity, always make sure there's actually a product inside. You don't want to be running the microwave with nothing inside. Happy to have it on preheat, but no microwave when there's no product. If I'm just going to cancel, we simply hit the red button at the base as we saw there. What we're now going to look at is grill. We can have either a high option, as you'll see there, or a low option. Again, look at it as how much colour or crispness are you looking at achieving on a product. The grill can be used separately on its own, so you do not need to use convection or microwave to facilitate this feature. For example, now I'm going on to fan grill. This is where I'm going to be using that grill element. Stop again. Fan grill is where I'm going to be utilising that grill element, but also the convection air inside the cavity. Again, just like with convection on its own, I can run from 100 degrees up to 250 degrees. So for example, on a dish I'll do a little bit later, I'm going to have it really quite high in temperature and utilise the grill to create crispness and browning on a product. With that grill element also running, I can also then go back and utilise the microwave element like so. So it's really, this is where we start talking about combining elements. To run a program, simply enter our time, for example 3 minutes in this instance, and hit the start button. What you're really looking at utilising is, says, the microwave feature, convection, fan grill, and grill on its own. Combine those together or on their own separately, that's what we're looking for. Additionally, what you can do with the oven is you can have multiple stages in a cook process, up to 3 in fact, and this is isolated down the side here, 1, 2, 3. The way that we can utilise these is once we've entered our time for cooking, for example 3 minutes, I now go back to the oven and change the program. So at the moment, just to give you an insight, you can see that I've got microwave running on medium power. I'm also then utilising convection. Perhaps now I want to switch to fan grill. Perhaps I want to brown the dish at the last minute. I press fan grill now, and you'll see at the side there, the blinker is now on the number 2. Exactly the same process we just spoke about. Select your temperature. And again, if you want to utilise the microwave again, cycle through. What you'll note is the microwave power is decreased. So I can't go from medium up to high. You'll always end up going lower. So always utilise that microwave power at the start of the cooking process. Once we've selected our temperature, quite simply again, enter our time. And finally again, if you want to do a third stage, choose our element, grill potentially, enter a time again, place products inside, and hit the start button to begin cooking. So now we've had a look at the features of the oven and how we program a recipe. Let's look at how we can put that into practice with an actual dish. The dish that I'm going to be looking at doing is a shredded chicken thigh taco, which I'm going to use the McCormack sriracha seasoning to form a wet marinade paste just to go over the chicken thighs. So all I do to start with is pop my seasoning into a bowl. Then going to add a nice amount of water just to make a wet mix. I want to fully incorporate all those herbs. I'm not looking for it to be too dry, but at the same time we don't want it too wet. Once I've got my marinade done, I'm then just going to pop in my chicken thighs. I'm leaving the skin on as well, so I really want to crisp that up as well while it cooks in the oven. Just give these a really good coating. Once they're fully marinated, we're just going to pop those into a container. And refrigerate for half an hour before we roast them back through the oven. Any excess that we've got left in the bowl, just spoon over the top. Like so. So now I've got my chicken thighs, which I've let marinate for 30 minutes, and I'm going to cook inside the oven. Just to show you inside the cavity, what we've got is a ceramic tray and a wire rack. You've got the ability to adjust that ceramic tray in terms of shelving. So if you want it a little bit closer to that grill element, you can, or a little bit lower to ease off on that. What I'm going to do for ease of use as well is I'm going to pop some greaseproof paper inside the cavity just to avoid any additional mess. It's really key to also look and examine what actual products you're going to cook in with the oven. Obviously using microwave, we can't have proper metals, we don't want to have that arcing scenario, but at the same time, if we run the oven at 250 degrees, we need to make sure that that dish or tray is microwave safe and also safe to those temperatures as well. For this, I've preheated that ceramic tray, so I'm really looking at getting the seal on these. As we mentioned earlier, let's look at our programming. Oven's preheated. I then go onto my fan grill. As you mentioned, I really want to go quite high on these, so 240, 250 is going to be absolutely fine. Really want to get the colour and crispness on top of the skin. I'm then going to operate my microwave power. Still want to keep these fairly moist and juicy, but I don't want to overcook the product. They have still got the bone inside, so we need to put a little bit of power in there to get the right result. For this instance, I've just gone on low to start with, because again, I'm relying on that fan grill element. Time-wise for this, I'm looking at going at 6 minutes to start with. Again, I can always add more time later if I feel it needs it. I'm going to then just pop the chicken thighs inside the cavity. Close the door and hit the start button. As you can see now, the program's been running for just under 2 minutes on these chicken thighs. But I just want to kind of give you a little bit of advice on if you want to stop or pause or open the door, what to do in this scenario. So, for example, if I open the door now, that stops the cooking process. Close the door, it won't automatically restart. What you need to do is hit that start button. If you do, for whatever reason, figure out that during the finals we want to cancel that process or stop the program running as well, simply hit the stop cancel button. I won't do this just now, but I'll show you a little bit later how that works. So once the actual cooking program is finished, you'll hear there's a slight beep as it makes its way down to 0. At this point now, I'm going to take the chicken out of the oven. I'm going to take the whole tray and just pop it over here. So now that I've loaded up my tortilla wraps with my chicken thigh and spring onions, You can really feel how juicy it is thanks to, again, using the oven. But the big takeaway from this particular dish is the coloration that we get on the chicken thighs, on the skin, thanks to using that fan grill element. If you were to just use the oven just using convection, even going on a high temperature, you're just going to have to expect to use more time to get that coloration. And again, the juiciness is thanks to the microwave, not going too aggressive by overcooking the chicken. By using it on low, we've been able to keep it nice, moist and juicy, but fully cooked in a really relatively short space of time. And that's the point of combining these two elements, the microwave and the fan grill, to have the coloration along with the finish. So that's kind of, again, just a little street foodie, kind of starter canapé to take away. Let's look at another dish now. So leading on from that chicken taco dish, and do something a little bit different. So what I've got is some hake fillets, and we're going to cook this on papillote inside the grease-proof paper. So what I'm going to do is start off by making my base. So I've just got some celery, then going to add my spring onions, and again I'm just keeping this nice and rustic because I just want to get the flavours out as we cook it. Then going to add chopped onion, and I'm going to just pop a little bit of samphire in there as well, just to give a little bit of natural saltiness to the dish. Add my hake fillets, and I'm going to put a splash of white wine in there before I bag it up. So with my hake parcel now ready made, it's time to get ready to put it in the oven. As you can see on the screen, the oven's back in its preheat mode, so it's ready to rock. I've got the oven running at 240 degrees for this one. So I'm just going to, again, open the door, bring the oven back to life to begin programming. Microwave, I'm going to go on medium to show you a different level, and then I'm just going to utilise convection because again I'm not looking at kind of creating a lot of colour on the product because it's in a bag. I'm just looking at circulating the air as it runs. So I'm just going to bring this down slightly to 180 degrees like so and select my programming. I'm then going to enter 5 minutes. Take my parcel, pop it onto the tray and hit the start button to begin the cooking process. So now as we can see, the timer's hit 0. We're ready to take that parcel out of the oven. Just going to bring this back to my workbench. So now with my fish parcel sat on the side resting, what I've taken is some wild mushrooms, and I've just lightly fried these off and just added some of the McCormack fresh mixed herbs into there as well. Just going to pop this just to form a little bed for my hake to sit on alongside all the celery, the onions and the samphire that was already in the dish. Pop that there. I'm going to bring my parcel across. Fully open this up now. So now what I'm going to do is just take out some of the samphire, some of the onions and celery, and just pop this on top of my bed of mushrooms. And again, just looking at it as a nice little starter dish. And again, we can just finish that. We look at the other piece, just to see the cook on it. If we just break it away, really nice and tender and moist and juicy. And again, all about that partnership. We've cooked it in the bag as a protective measure to not let it dry out. We've got the heat in there thanks to the convection and also the microwave element, and just paired that with some lovely fried mushrooms. So now with the hake sat on the bed of wild mushrooms with the samphire, onion, celery and spring onion, we can look to just finish this. You could do it with a butter sauce, but I'm just going to keep it quite neutral and just use some extra virgin olive oil, just give it a bit of shine on the fish and just to cut through those mushrooms on the plate. So now we've seen both the chicken taco and the hake dish come out of the oven plated up, move on to again another meat-based protein item. So what I've got here is a pork fillet which I've rolled, wrapped in Parma ham, so kind of like a salt and vodka in that respect. So what I'm going to do is just take off the cling film. So again, this has just been sat on the fridge, just firming back up after I've rolled it. So at this point now, I'm ready to pop this, roast it straight through the oven. So now I've got my pork fillet out of the fridge, unwrapped, it's ready to go inside the oven. As you can see, the oven's still at preheat, ready for me. And more crucially, I pop that tray back inside. The reason for this is I want to create that little bit kind of seal on the pork fillet, like you would in a frying pan. So ensuring that tray is well preheated is absolutely vital. Best way of doing this is ensuring that preheat temperature is high, 240 degrees in this instance. We don't have to cook at that temperature, but it's always good to over preheat. Reason for that as well, putting something cold into the oven, we know we're going to lose a bit of temperature with the door open and with the product going inside, taking some of that heat out. With that in mind, with that inside the cavity, I've done this a little bit different now. So I put the product inside and now I'm going to program it. There's no right or wrong way. It's whatever you feel comfortable in doing. So again, for this, I want to get really quite a lot of colour on that product. But again, is the grill going to be too powerful? For me, it's going to be okay. So I select my fan grill option. And like the chicken where we really got a lot of darkness to it, I'm going to go a little bit lighter, 200 degrees. I'm then going to choose my microwave item. And for this, I'm going to go on the lowest setting. Again, with that pork, I don't want to risk drying it out. I don't want to overcook it. And also, with the Parma ham wrapped around it, I know that's going to shrink. And I don't want the microwave to draw any excess moisture away, which is what it's designed to do. Time-wise then, I'm just going to go at 6 minutes. We can have a look at it, we can probe it, and we can always put it back in for longer. That's the key. Don't want to overcook at this stage. Hit the start button, and the program begins. So with the pork now ready to come out of the oven, I'm going to pull it out, let it rest, and chuck in some tender stem broccoli, which I'm just going to roast off with a little bit of chili, just while the pork rests to bring the dish together. So I've got the broccoli just in the oven now, and that will go on the plate last minute. I prepared some mashed potatoes and heated that up on the stove top, and I'm just going to finish it with a little bit of pork shoot. So while that's set, I'm just going to pull this off the grease-free paper, just so you can kind of see that coloration and crispness that the Parma ham's got. Pop this to one side. Take my mashed potato. Place a couple of dollops just to rest the pork on as it sits. Just slice into my pork now. So we've got lovely coloration there, nicely cooked throughout. And I'm just going to pull the broccoli out of the oven. So my timer's up. I'm just going to take out the broccoli from the oven. I just wanted to point out as well, you'll notice on the screen that I cut the program for 3 minutes. It goes back onto 3 minutes. The reason for that is it gives you that quick start option. So if you want to run the same program again, maybe it needs a little bit more time, we can open it and hit the start button. Otherwise, just leave it and the oven will go straight back into its preheat mode for you. So no need to, again, stop or go back to preheat. It'll do it all automatically for you. So that's the broccoli out of the oven with the chilies. Just around the plate. Just a nice simple dish utilising the meat from the oven, just to show you that, and how we can roast some vegetables in there as well, but bring other sides to come together with the dish. So to finish, we're going to do a little dessert option, chocolate fondant in fact. And what I've got it in the silicone mould. The reason for that is, again, I'm going to be utilising the microwave to speed up that cook process. And traditionally I might put it in an aluminium foil tin cup. Obviously I can't do that with the microwave. So briefly, just want to again reiterate what products can go in the oven as you're using them. If you are using the oven solely on microwave, perhaps, with no dry heat inside the cavity, then again, anything that's microwave safe is absolutely fine. what you'd normally expect to place in a microwave. If you're using the oven perhaps just on the grill, or just convection, or just fan grill without any microwave, then absolutely additional trays that perhaps wouldn't be suitable to go into microwaves are fine to go in there as well. But remember, with the oven you have that single wire rack and the ceramic tray to go in there as well. And then there are the unique items like this silicone mat, where I'm going to utilize the microwave and power because it can withstand that at the same time. So again, choosing your cooking vessel is just as important as the program or the item that you're choosing to cook. So with that being said, let's look at getting these chocolate fondants in the oven. So to be brutally honest, I'm not going to differentiate much from how I'd normally cook these. I'm going to just be a little bit quicker on my time. So in terms of the program, my oven's already at preheat temperature. So I'm going to go on to convection to cook these fondants. Simply going to open the oven door just to reset it. Program my recipe first because I don't want the chocolate to start melting first. I'm going to go on convection and set it to 190 degrees. Again, the reason I'm not using fan grill is I don't want to get that colour on there. Next, I'm going to go on to my microwave elements. High, medium, low, and simmer. Again, this just needs a little tickle to go through it. I'm not looking at fully cooking it or fully melting it. Just let the heat of the oven go. And then my timing, I'm going to go at 7 minutes. Once I've got all that set up, again, just open the door, take my product, and I'm going to place this directly on the ceramic tray in the center, close the oven door, and hit the start button. So that's the end of my cooking program. I'm just going to pull my fondants out now. See, I've got a little bit of a rise, but again, that nice finish on top, and again, just coming away from the edge, ready for when I turn them out from the mold. So as you've seen there, we've created 5 totally different dishes to go through the 1275. It really is, again, about balancing those key elements: the microwave, the fan grill, the convection. And again, if you want to use the grill on your own, I know we've not done that today, but if you're looking at, again, toasting any spices off on the tray, that's a great use of that feature as well. So just to reiterate, from Panasonic's point of view, we're looking to see your creativity, what you can come up with using the oven. We're not saying base your entire menu around the oven, not at all, but again, have your menu and incorporate the oven to produce those dishes. We're looking at you utilizing, or at least showing, 3 different separate combination modes. When I say combination, I mean convection on its own or microwave and convection. Those are the looks that we're taking for this. Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it's been useful and informative. But if you do have any additional questions or queries, or want a little bit more advice, please feel free to contact me. My details are just on the screen below. Want to wish you the best of luck in your entry.